I don't want to ask the question, but if that doesn't happen and the Bills win, is Ken Dorsey still the offensive coordinator?
I mean, probably.
I don't know.
Most likely.
Follow-up question.
Okay.
Would you rather have the Bills be 5-5 with Joe Brady as OC or 6-4 with Ken Dorsey as OC?
That's a good question. I
don't need an answer right now. Just follow up. Just a question.
Can I answer it, though?
Yeah, go ahead.
Maybe 5-5.
I'm going to say, yeah, I'm being honest. I'd rather have Joe. And, look, I don't want to say it's nothing personal against Ken Dorsey, but I'm just really excited as a fan, and I guess this is a good transition into this. I'm just really excited as a fan. Like, I'm going to preface it, just say this. Last night, I went to the game, super sad leaving the stadium, sitting in traffic, just super upset. Like, not like pissed off, but just like, man, this season looks like it's over. You know, it's a long shot to make the playoffs. I don't know what the direction of this team is, but, you know, I'm not sure. I wake up this morning and I see Ken Dorsey is out, Joe Brady is in, and we have a new offensive coordinator. And I was, last night before I went to bed even, I was like, I don't want to watch on Sunday. We play the Jets, I really don't want to watch. But yeah, I know I'm going to. And I was like, I'm done being emotionally invested in this team. Which is a lie. I probably would have been anyways. But what I'm saying now is just Joe Brady kind of reignites a new fire underneath me. I'm sitting here now on this Tuesday night recording a podcast, wearing my Bills sweatshirt I got for my birthday. And I'm just excited. I'm actually excited to see what Joe Brady brings to the table. I'm excited to see what they do that's new against the Jets. And I'm just excited to see if this team can get back on track. And Max, I don't know if you have any immediate opinions or, you know, thoughts, but I'm just really excited that Joe Brady is going to be here. And I think our chances of turning it around with him at 5-5 are better than Ken Dorsey at 6-4, to be honest. And if Joe Brady, like, there's no pressure on Joe Brady. If he flames out and it's not like nothing really changes, then he's probably just gone too, or maybe they retain him as a quarterback coach, or who knows. And we go find a new coordinator next season. But if he's good, he's good, and we have a guy. So I'm excited to see like what they have, and we're playing with some house money here. And it would suck to miss the playoffs, but I have no expectations at this point of making them. So and we'll get into that, but I'm just excited to see what he has.
Yeah. Well, for those who don't know who Joe Brady is, let's go over a little bit of his history. So, first of all, he actually went to William and Mary, which is where Sean McDermott went.
I saw that today, actually. I was looking at his Wikipedia before we got started.
Of course, yeah, and he was there. He was a linebacker coach there. I believe he was assistant. I do have it here. He was an assistant at Penn State. Then he was an offensive assistant for the New Orleans Saints. Then he went to LSU for a year, and he was the passing game coordinator and wide receivers coach. And if you don't recall, 2019 LSU, that was Joe Burrow with Jamar Chase, Justin Jefferson, Terrence Marshall, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, Thaddeus Moss. Probably the best college football team ever.
Yep.
Most likely. Definitely was the best offense ever.
Yep.
And he was doing a lot of play calling there. And it was an air raid offense. It helps that you had the Heisman winner and Joe Burrow and an absurd amount of weapons.
Two of the best wide receivers, if not the two best receivers in the NFL right now, in Jamar Chase and Justin Jefferson.
Of course.
Yeah, probably.
Of course.
It probably helps.
But, obviously, they don't do that by themselves there. He was a big part of that offense there. Then he took a job for the Carolina Panthers as an offensive coordinator. Not much happened there. And, you can make the argument that they didn't have much.
That's what I was going to ask, because I knew that
he didn't have anything to work with.
People were kind of like saying, well, Joe Brady's been a coordinator before. He didn't do well in Carolina. But, like, what year was that? Who was their quarterback?
2020 and then 2021, because we brought him in 2022 as the quarterback coach.
Okay.
So if I was to look...
That's what I'm wondering. Is it Cam? It can't be Cam.
No, he would have been gone.
They had, because they have Dalton and Bryce Young, obviously, now.
So I'm going to give you their starting offense. Teddy Bridgewater, Mike Davis.
Oh, dear Lord, the Mike Davis year.
Robbie Anderson, a 23-year-old DJ Moore, and Curtis Samuel. And Chris Manhertz, a tight end.
Okay.
Oh, and Bills legend John Miller was the starting right guard.
Oh, yeah, there you go. He didn't have much to work with. And I think,
no, not at all.
One of the things with Dable, too, was Dable had, I think, a few offensive coordinator gigs before. I mean, he came from Alabama, where they were good.
Yep.
And he was with the Browns before previously, and I think there might have been another team in there.
He was with the Patriots.
Was he their OC, though? Or is it just...
I'm not sure.
I think, regardless.
But if you're
Brian
telling
Dable,
me... But first of all, like, with this Carolina team in 2020, he had Robbie Anderson and DJ Moore both get over 1,000 receiving yards.
Yeah, those are solid years. And Curtis Samuel was a guy who, when he went to the free agent market, was like sought after. And people thought he could be like a Tyreek Hill style player. And I know Carolina utilized him like that. Like they used a gadget style player, a slot guy who could stretch the field too. And you see some of that in Khalil Shakir and obviously Deontay Hardy. So I guess we'll be excited to see what Joe Brady brings to the table with them. But Brian Dable was the offensive coordinator for the Browns before getting a job with us, and it was a bad, like, the Browns' offense was bottom 5, I think maybe bottom 3. Like, I remember this being a talking point when the Bills weren't good under Brian Dable, and people saying, like, he was never a good coordinator when he had chances. Why do you think he'll be better now? And he blossomed into this great coordinator, head coach now, and head coach of the year. So, I mean, Joe Brady's 34 years old. I'm not going to say he's going to be the next great young offensive mind in football, but I wouldn't just call this guy a bad coordinator because of his previous stint with Carolina. Like, I have hope for him. No. And if he's nothing, he's nothing. We're playing with house money. That's all I'm saying.
I mean, he went 5-11 with Teddy Bridgewater.
Yeah. I mean, is Teddy even on a team right now? I don't think he is.
He's a backup somewhere, I think.
I don't think he's on a team.
You know what?
That'd
No,
be something
I'm
else
thinking
to
of,
look up.
Yeah.
Regardless.
No, is he still on the Lions?
I'll have to look.
I remember he was wearing 50 in the preseason.
He's a backup quarterback for the Detroit Lions.
Yeah.
Okay. Fair enough. Regardless, guy's backup now. I'm excited to see what Joe Brady brings to the table, because the Bills' offense. I mean, we talked about the issues week after week. What we wanted to see out of this team, and Dan Orlovsky went on Pat McAfee today, and he just said basically schematically, like, they were a broken team and they were predictable. And I think if you've been watching the Bills up now through 10 weeks, you see that in their game. I had some stats, but I actually deleted them from our notes because I wanted to go more of just like the ramble kind of podcast and just not too structured. But we had the highest average depth of target inside our own 15-yard line. And that's something that when I heard that stat, I was like, I could tell you that to be true because we were always taking shots in our own end. And we talked about it last week. You saw the interceptions from Josh in his own red zone. Not in his own red zone, inside his own territory deep. So that's a predictable point. And, the running out of shotgun, I think Dan Orlovsky said we have like basically 2 runs that we run out of shotgun. And, I mean, when was the last time we kind of saw an outside run out of shotgun? Almost never. We had the 3rd highest yards per carry under center, and we were 20th in shotgun, and we barely run under center. As well as last night, Josh Allen under center was like 4 of 4 for 71 yards and a touchdown, and in shotgun he was terrible. And it's just that predictability because we're not really going to go under center. We're going to sit in the shotgun. We're going to have similar runs, and our scheme was not only predictable, but it was so vanilla. And you heard about, Dan Orlovsky said it today, and I don't want to harp too much on Dan Orlovsky, but the guy knows what he's talking about in terms of football. He played in the NFL. He was a quarterback at a very high level, and he was just saying, like, you were asking players to execute to a T, and this is something I've been saying now for months, is that it felt like our offense was always like, okay, everybody go run their route, and Josh, you have to run your route well to get open, and we have to call it against the right defense, and Josh, you have to make the right read, or else we're not doing anything. And and Josh said it himself, like, I think we have to be more simple. And so I'm just hoping that we get a little more simple, and I don't want to make this podcast just hating on Dorsey. We've done a lot of criticism in the past and talking about what's wrong, but I'm just excited to see what Joe Brady brings into the scheme.
Yeah, me too. I think you're going to see a lot of different stuff. And, something to think about that, if you're already not excited about what Kincaid has done the past 4 weeks, is in reality, he had another good game, this week. But back at that LSU team, I'll go back to when Joe Brady was calling plays there. Thaddeus Moss, he led the country in touchdown receptions.
Well, there you go.
He knows how to use a tight end. And Thaddeus Moss ended up he's not on a roster anymore. He was an undrafted free agent, and he never made a roster.
Yeah.
So he made that guy, do a lot of different things at a high level in the toughest conference in college football.
Yeah, I wanted to. That's a great point, and I think, like you said, like in terms of Kincaid, like I think you've really seen him break out over the last 4 games. I mean, you look at the New England game; he was 8 catches for 75 yards. Tampa Bay, he had 5 for 65 and a touchdown. Cincinnati, he had 10 for 81, and then Denver, he was 5 for 51 and a touchdown. He's been extremely consistent, consistently getting a snap share, and I'm excited to see what he can do. In terms of this Joe Brady offense, I want to shout out Anthony from Cover One. He reached out to One Panther Place, a Panthers account. Just kind of asked him, like, what did you see from Joe in his time there, in Joe Brady? And he saw, he said you saw a lot of like Sean Payton style concepts, utilizes personnel well, creating conflicts for linebackers. Plenty of 21 personnel, likes to utilize a fullback. We do have Reggie Gilliam. So we haven't had the Reggie Gilliam touchdown yet.
No, we
Hasn't
have not.
happened. Plenty of 11 personnel, almost no 10. He's big on ball security, which hopefully that changes some things. Has some good screen concepts, good blend of early down pass run ratio, so he's not too predictable. So you like to kind of see, what he's going to bring to the table and some of that stuff. And I think that's a lot of stuff that the Bills could really use. And you talked about being an air raid offense. I think the Bills maybe need to get back to some of that. So, I mean, I don't have too much more about Joe Brady, but like I said, I'm excited to see what he brings to the table. And if it doesn't pan out, it doesn't pan out. But I think that hopefully the players get rejuvenated from it well and start having some more fun and we start, getting more exotic.
Yeah, I've always been a fan of him. I was very happy when we hired him before last year to be the quarterback coach. I've always
Same.
Yeah, I've always been a fan of him. So I'm very excited to see him get his shot. This is a big audition for him. To see if he's learned anything from his time in Carolina and then working with Josh Allen for the past year and a half. Now let's see what he's learned and let's see what he's going to do with this offense that has a ton of talent.
Yeah.
You have a lot of talented skill guys that you can use. There's a good blend of players that you can use a lot of different ways all over the field. So I'm excited to see how he utilizes everybody because I know we've talked about it a lot the past few weeks about, well, we're not seeing Hardy do anything and we're not seeing them use this, it took forever for them to use Kincaid in this specific way that he's been so good because of, getting him these intermediate balls over the middle and letting him be that, for Josh, that help over the middle for him to go to and, utilizing him in the flat a lot and letting him catch it and turn up field and pick up a lot of first downs.
I think it's, like you said, they're just like really exciting to kind of think like, okay, you have a system and this is what we call this and this is what we call this. And it hasn't been working. And now we're just going to turn it over to this guy who thinks a little different philosophically. And we're still going to call it this. This is still how a curl route's going to be ran and how we're going to call it. But let's see what we can add to this offense, and let's see how we can change calling it, and let's see if we can be a little less predictable. And I think if Joe Brady comes out this week, I mean, he has a tall task going against the Jets, going against them Philly. That's 2 tall tasks, 2 good defenses. But if you come out in this week against the Jets, and you run the offense to kind of how it was, but you're a little less predictable, and maybe you play to the team's strengths, and you come out with 4 or 5 new style plays. Maybe it's a gadget pitch to Hardy. Maybe we're going to go, we're going to create a play for Hardy this week. We're going to create a play for another playmaker. We're going to do this for this. We're going to run a screen. You just toss in a few things, you're going to catch teams off guard. It plays to the Bills' advantage because we now can create things that they don't expect. And maybe that's the basic schemes and how we're doing things will be similar, but I think it gives us an advantage, and I want to see what he has to cook. Let Joe Brady cook. It's Joe Brady season, and I'm fully buying into it.
Give him the reins.
And I have no expectations, but I'm buying into it.